family? Welcome to another episode of Underground Railroad Radio. This is your host, Brother Rich, and I'm back with half of the priesthood. Minister Jew, welcome back to the show, brother. It's been a while, man. Welcome back, brother.
Man, appreciate it, Rich. What's poppin', man? Glad to be back on the platform.
For real, man. We haven't had that quantum talk in a while. The people have been emailing me, and they have been saying, man, when you going to get the priesthood back on there? And, so I gotta. I can't, I can't go too long without having the priesthood on here. And we dealing with this quantum reality in which we exist in,
Absolutely.
So the name of the show today, Minister Jew, the name I wanted to title it, first of all, I'm taking a look at everything going on, as I always do, within the collective culture, collective consciousness of humanity, and what our people are being programmed with on a day-to-day basis. And I look at the talks, the discussions myself, Minister Jew, Noble, and Poole have on a regular basis throughout the year, and watch the response from our people. And it's almost a response from some people. If it's not disbelief, it's just unsurety. Like, damn, is that shit real when they talk that quantum stuff? Is that law of attraction stuff real? Because why? They just can't fathom it because the images and everything in their reality tells them otherwise. So the name of the show, I want to call this one, Minister Jew, The Truth About the Law of Attraction and Black People. And for those who study quantum physics, we know the law does not discriminate. But what is happening is that we're observing something. Black people suffering is a part of American culture at this point. So if you're talking about the law of attraction and you're talking about projecting things, there's a group of people that because black people suffering is a part of the collective culture, we're continuing to project what's already a part of the collective culture. So other people may observe black brothers and sisters getting shot or beat or whatever by cops or whatever's happening to black people on TV, thugs and hoes, pimps and hoes and all of that, and they may not get affected as much because the person on the screen doesn't look exactly like them and they can't relate to that hip-hop culture, whether it's hip-hop culture or whether it's just black culture in general. But the more you can relate to something, the more you identify it, the more you mirror it, the more it becomes your own reality. So it's a very, very, very unique situation that black people find themselves in when it comes to the collective culture of America, the media, the images of us on the media, and when it comes on applying what we call the law of attraction. If we've seen black people being successful on television on a day-to-day basis, it wouldn't be that hard for somebody to imagine the law of attraction and use their imagination. But when all you see is bad shit all the time and a nigga comes along and tells you to use your imagination to change your reality, I can understand it may sound a little bit absurd. So I'm not saying I don't understand where the people coming from. I get it. But I'm going to continue to do what I got to do. The priests are going to do what they got to do. With that being said, Minister Jew, I need you to go in like you never went in before, brother. Because we facing something that a lot of people can't understand, brother. Go ahead, brother.
Well, first of all, this is always great subject matter because we got to peel the layers back on this thing so people can understand exactly what's being talked about and where the dialogue is trying to be pushed to and towards. And so I think, in fact, I know the reason that people, and it's just we're going to be specific, we're going to talk about our people, our cultural people, who we call them black, right? That's the term that we're using, don't understand how this phenomenon works. And to just put it in one word based upon how you described it in your question, being how other people of other cultures may see it and what's happening to people of color, and they can't really identify with it, but yet people of color, black people, see these things happening, and we naturally have a connection to it. And the word, it's a simple word, it's called an emotional attachment. We have an emotional, invested attachment to what we're seeing versus other people who may be of other ethnic groups who see this and, they really don't feel that way. And so they're not projecting that into the screen of space called their reality. But What I want to talk about tonight, so that people can understand how this thing works, is you have to understand how your body is made. Specifically, when you're dealing with the priesthood, Minister Jude Noble and Pooh, we're talking about this brain, okay? And we're so involved in different aspects of us coming from up under this spell that, we're dealing with the historical aspect, which is great. We're trying to fix our relationships in the household as lovers, as mates. We're trying to fix the family dynamic, etc., because this thing has been scattered and broken into so many pieces. And so different people have different parts of the puzzle that they add to build up this conglomerate so that we can prosper and succeed. But see, I'm going to tell you something. All of these different faculties that people are using, they couldn't do any of it without the brain. It's impossible, Rich. If they're formulating a strategy, they have to think it out. Whatever they're trying to come up with, even them moving, the ability to move, motion, it takes brain communication to be able to do that. So what we're really dealing with is a mental health crisis in the black community and lack of education on how they're constituted and how the imagination in the limbic brain, specifically the hippocampus in the right hemisphere of the brain, is the catalyst for you to be able to create a situation that will sustain you, that will uplift you out of this poverty mindset, etc., etc. You have to be able to become a creator. So when people hear this dialogue and they say, I don't know if that shit true, and it's just so hard to believe, go get you some literature and research the neuroscience of the limbic brain. See, we have to stop, especially when the proof is available. Like, we had 1.7 million in a year and a half, Rich, as far as collective value is concerned with the people in our group. We got people healing themselves from torn ligaments and shoulder bruises and contusions, something that's been hurting them for a year and a half, going to get laser surgeries, going to get chiropractors, acupuncture, taking all this type of medication, physical therapy, etc. They come into our membership and start utilizing the subjective will of light and imagination over specific body parts, and in a month and a half, 2 months, it's completely gone. The ailment is completely gone. They go back to the acupuncturists and all these people, and they say, I don't believe it. I don't know how it happened. We got people healing themselves with and their daughters and children with eczema problems who've been had it for over a year and a half, 2 years, applying these principles. So the science that we're talking about is not just money, law of attraction. When you understand the power of imagery and the structure in the brain that amplifies that force and activates the theta wave in the human being, which is the essential part of creating. That is the wave in which creation takes place. Children from the ages of 1 to 7 are in the theta wave range. And so when you hear in these holy books and these holy texts where they say, oh, you have to be like the children to enter the kingdom of God, they're talking science there. And people think that it's some secular history that happened 2,000 years ago from this guy in the sky talking to somebody down here on the earth plane. No, these are narratives and parables to get you to understand higher dynamics and principles of science. So when you start to tap into the theta range of the brain, which is only activated in the hippocampus, then that's when you become God. Then that's when you become the goddess, because then you start to see that you create and can create the reality that exists externally to you by what you're appropriating in your psychology internally on a subjective level. So now, let me tell you why they think it don't work, because we're going to get a little technical tonight, because I've seen the comments before, and you know, people don't get it, and so they're going to understand it after tonight. So, post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Now, science says, Rich, because we're going to talk about, the question is why black people won't gravitate toward it, why they don't think that it's real, why they so many skeptics about it. Well, post-traumatic stress disorder makes changes in the hippocampus in the right hemisphere of the brain. So now what does this mean? And you can find this by wound-ensued hippocampal deficit associations with exposure to psychological trauma. right? This is in Progress in Neuropsychopharmacology and Biological Psychiatry, October 2010 edition, for those that like to say, I need some sources, Minister Jew. Because, see, a lot of times I come on this program and I don't get the sources up because it's part of it's who I am. I've become this data. So I can spit it out and spew it out at will. But for the people who need to go look further so that they can appease their left brain, so when we start talking about right brain functions of meditation, visualization, etc., to create external phenomena, then they won't be so up against the wall and feel like, I don't know if this is real. So we give them some science tonight. So what you see is, now what is this? What does this say, Rich? All of the rape, the murder, the poverty, parental neglect, drugs tearing the homes up, police brutality, dirty communities, torn down neighborhoods. Look, man, we just left Detroit about 2-3 weeks ago. We got a project coming up called the Detroit Renaissance, right? And me and Ampu were in Detroit getting some footage. We had our video photographer. Shout out to Ern for coming down, helping us out, getting the project off the ground. We down in Detroit getting it together, and we going through the neighborhood, Rich, right? We on the east side of Detroit. 40 to 50% of the homes in East Detroit are ravished, completely No, listen, I mean this. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. I got the footage. Ravished, devastated. This looked like something out of a horror movie where people run. It looked like some shit off the Michael Jackson Thriller video. Running up into these abandoned buildings, etc. Right? Roofs caved in. We went down one block, Sylvester Street. Every single house on the block was vacant. Every single house on the block. Now, meanwhile, you got other people who are living in these conditions visually. Now, this is a visual apparatus that they're taking into their consciousness every day. You got people getting up, going to work, stepping outside of their house, looking at a 50% vacant block with houses damn near falling to the ground. They haven't even come out and boarded the homes up. I asked some of the natives. We got some interviews from the natives on the land. We said, how long has it been like this? Oh, some of these houses have been like this for 10 years. They never came and boarded them up. One lady said some pit bulls was in a house, attacked some people in one of the blocks down there. Damn near killed these people out there, man. Right? This is what's going on. So now, I'm saying all that to say this. That visual imagery, right, along with all of these other things that I just named, rape, murder, poverty, parental neglect, right, along with the phobias that have been passed down through the genes of African Americans, black people, et cetera, right? Science says all of these things that happen to the people that came before you, right, these fears, these anxieties from these circumstances and these conditions that were placed on them at a certain era in time. And we're not talking a long time ago. Like, I'm not going to go back 4,000, 5,000 years. I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about 150 years ago, Rich. It's not a long time. Like your great-grandfather. Like, this is not a whole lot of time ago. Exactly. Right? Yeah. So now all of these phobias passed down into your gene pool, right? Activating this nonsense in your DNA, right? And you wonder why when the police get behind you, they're feeling of, oh shit, here we go. Right? Mm-hmm. But you 100% authentic. You got registration, you got license, you got insurance, but yet it's something in your psychology that's there, even though you've never ever done any quote unquote criminal activity, that you still feel a certain way, you still get certain feelings in your body based upon the interactions and things that are passed down in your genes. So now, this damages the hippocampus in the right hemisphere of the brain that is responsible for the imaging work or the imagination, the inner imagery, which is also connected to the frontal lobes. The hippocampus in the right hemisphere of the brain is connected to the frontal lobes, which is the CEO of the brain that deals with cognitive thinking, meaning problem solving, goddammit. So then we wonder why we keep experiencing the same thing over and over again. We got hippocampal damage based upon psychological parameters. Right? So now they have another experiment in London where a guy has a damaged hippocampus. He was in an accident, Rick, had a terrible accident, damages hippocampus. Let me just show you how this works, because this thing is also responsible for your spatial recognition, meaning, you know, what's going on in your immediate environment, how you're mapping space out. And so, they, you know, some of these experiences, they talk about why women have, you know, larger accidents at turning lanes more so than men, because their hippocampus is not necessarily the same size as a man's. And so sometimes when they get in a position where they have to make decisions based upon space and navigation, sometimes they're not as quick thinking as the man counterpart. But then there's some parts in the woman's brain that science shows is naturally more attentive to other things, like the emotional apparatus, et cetera, being more bonding, et cetera. So we have different roles that we're playing in this makeup called reality. But this thing in London, where this guy had this damaged hippocampus, what happened was they told him, we need you to get to McDonald's from the bank. He kept making these 90-degree angle turns because he no longer was able to figure out a shortcut, even though he had been a taxi driver for like 20 or 30 years. When he damaged his hippocampus, he was unable to figure out how to create new pathways and shortcuts to get from A to B. And he kept going around this circle, and eventually he came back and he said, I just don't know how to get there. Now, this is a man who had been driving this town, this city in London, for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So now what does this mean? Because this structure is not only responsible for your spatial recognition, it's responsible for the imagery that you feed yourself, right? It's responsible for the inner imagery that you create. It's a cognitive structure. So what happens when this thing starts to shrivel up based upon all of these things that's been inflicted into your psychology over the years? You stop figuring out how to solve problems, Rich.
Mm.
You can't even get to A to B. And you keep going around these circles, around, and then we wonder why we've been talking about the same shit for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
You see? And so what happens is, and I want to put this out there too, older memories are held in the hippocampus in the right hemisphere more so than new things that happen to an individual. So the older things are stored away. The shit that happened to you when you was 5 and you like 35 now, it's stored away deep down in that hippocampus somewhere, right? And so now we have to ask ourselves this question. We keep thinking that, because you always hear people with this line right here, never forget, brother, never forget what they did, right?
Right.
I mean, we went on the show before, and man, it was so packed, and I mean, like the energy was some conflicting energy, because this one brother, he was like in total opposition, and we started running the signs down to him, like it was some fireworks, and we were telling him like, look, man, we're gonna have to replace these images that we think we're showing people, that we think is empowering us, because we said, ooh, look, remember this image where they show somebody on a goddamn with a rope around their neck hanging, right, etc. And then we look at that and say, oh, you don't forget that. So you don't understand the power of imagery. But then you look today and you see a Colin Kaepernick who won't stand and bow to their image, right? And you see a Bree Newsom who climbs a flagpole in South Carolina and takes down the Confederate flag. And you see Beyonce go on the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl, and everybody starts to have a fit who has the Confederate mindset that is masquerading like a good union, brother. The reason that this happens is because when you start to challenge the images and the ideals and principles of a nation, that's when you start to create turbulence and things can start to change. Mm-hmm. So it is through the image that actually invokes the narrative to change.
Through the image.
You see? So now, when the priesthood takes it to a psycho-spiritual level and start to understand how this quantum dynamic plays out, people can understand why we have 1.7 million. It's not that hard for people who can capture into the frequency and understand exactly what's happening.
Right.
But to the layman, right? They're steady running this same propaganda and program over and over and over, and think that they're reinforcing some type of aggressive disposition. Because here's the deal, Rich. We have to remember this, right? On one hand, we say, ooh, remember, look what he did to us. Never forget. We keep showing this over and over and over and over again. Then on the other hand, we saying how terrible it was and what he done to us and forced servitude and raped our women and castrated our men, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We start going down this line from A to Z of all the things that have happened, right? And then we turn around and say they need to give us reparations. Now, and that's not everybody, but a lot of people hold that sentiment, right? So then we have to look at this, what we're really saying when we're having this dialogue. On one hand, you're admitting that there's some trauma that is taking place, right? And then how do we know this? Because you're saying that there should be some reprimand, some type of reprimand that takes place based upon the actions that were facilitated on a group of people, right? But then we never stop in between those 2 points of A and B and say, well, damn, if it was trauma inflicted, I need to deal with the trauma. Them just giving me some goddamn money not going to necessarily fix the situation, because black people already do a lot of irresponsible shit with money now. So if the trauma has affected us, obviously it's a psychological trauma. So then why would we keep reinforcing the images that cause the psychological trauma?
Right.
Because we've never healed ourselves from the trauma. But we keep showing ourselves the images of the same trauma. And thinking because we're not walking around on a slave plantation anymore that somehow in some way that we're fucking okay. See?
Well, Minister Jew, how do you? All right, you have an absolute, you have a truth, a truth within you that cannot be denied of who you are. It's a part of your being. It's a part of your soul. Then you have this illusionary truth of, let's say your rent is due and you have absolutely no money in your pocket. You might be kicked out next month, and Minister Jew comes along and tells you how great you are. What happens is the average person, and let's just say black person, who's going through something, feels like they're lying to themselves. When they try to apply these laws, there's not a society in place, there's not a structure in place to support that mind frame of, you could do it, you're strong, you're a king, you're a God. Jesus don't look like that, brother. Jesus don't look like that, sister. So when they try to apply these laws, they're like, nigga, there's some kind of like, nigga, you lying. Nigga, you fucked up like every other nigga on the block. Every other nigga's poor and you poor too. Welcome to the hood. Welcome to life. This is it's hell on earth. That's what we were told. Hell on earth. You get judged in the afterlife. So how do you apply these principles, Minister Jew, without feeling like you're just blatantly lying to yourself?
Easy. You stay with repetition. You stay with discipline. And you let the science support the movement. See, Rich, look, and I'm speaking from experience, man. Like, I got people, listen, let me tell you something, man. Rich, I'm going to send you something. Well, you already get them, but I'm going to send you some more. So, because we got some stuff we ain't sent you because we ain't talked in a while. But we got some people, man. No, let me tell you, man. Charity Glover, I can name them by name. Delano Freeman, I can start naming names. Right? You go to, let me tell you, man. No, it's real talk, man. You can go to Noble Ampu Galileo on Facebook, and let me tell you something. It is a treasure chest of data and testimonials from real people. Like, because we get it. We understand our people, Rich. They're very pessimistic. That's why they are very, very intrigued by conspiracy, because the right hippocampus has been damaged. They have shut down their creative faculty, and so they have nothing left to do but indulge in something else that's going to give them entertainment. But we're here to tell you, you don't have to go through that manure. You don't have to. That's a choice that you're making. So you go to that page and you look at the testimonials from real people. Like, we tag these people because we know, oh, man, that's a fake. Them people ain't real. No, we're going to tag these people. You're going to be able to go to view their page. You can ask them questions. Real people who breathe and bleed blood just like you do, okay, where they be going through stuff, right? They join on faith. They hear the message. They see the testimonies from other people. And in a week, as things are going berserk and haywire, Charity Glover gets a $12,000 bonus. Delano Freeman gets a $4,500 bonus. People got checks coming in the mail from all kind of sources. They have no idea why they are coming with their name on it. It happens to my wife. It happens to me. It happens to Coley Cole. I post the pictures. People see it. But see, people can't fathom that because they're too left brain dominant. They don't understand that these are faculties that exist inside of man when you learn how to tap into your quantum potential. So they have to learn, Rich, that, and this is why we get into these studies when I talk about how people go through these studies and they sit down and they have these people do this imagination work and they do it for 5 or 6 weeks. And then the brain picks up on it as if they're actually physically doing it. And then when the person actually goes to apply what it is that they've been doing in their imagination, turns out they do it better than damn near 70% of the people who never did the imaginal work. So now you got people around here who playing the piano for the first time, even though they never played the keys, but they imagine that they was able to do it, picking up, learning at a rate way faster than somebody who just never did no imaginal work and trying to go play the piano. So the brain cannot tell the difference between what's real and what's not. But see, we keep on, we keep feeding ourselves these things that we think is real. See, let me tell you what happened. This is what happened. The hippocampus is the projector for you. It is the screen of space that light is trying to project itself on to create an image there. But what then happened is we done let this television, right, and all these other mediums that are able to project things into your sensory apparatus, your ears, your eyes, etc., these things have become external hippocampuses, primarily the damn TV and anything that has a monitor on it. These things are external hippocampuses, and now the media, what did you say when you first opened up the dialogue? It keeps showing black people, even though we only 15 to 13% of the population, right? You mean to tell me there ain't no motherfucking white folks around here getting smoked? Huh? But yet you don't see that. So you keep on seeing the imagery that suggests more damage and trauma to the structure in your brain that is responsible for picking up on imagery and storing it away as memory, and then you wonder why you're in a state of flux, and you wonder why you can't create it, and you wonder why you just, you're mad as hell, right? And you wonder why it's so hard to believe that being able to create from the level of imagining is a reality. When that is the closest thing in consciousness that you have to quantum physics. Quantum physics says things can be in multiple places at one time. Things can communicate with objects over vast distances of space faster than the speed of light. Now tell me the imagination is not on par with those type of things because you can do anything in it. Go to sleep at night and dream and you find yourself flying and shit. Yeah. Right? So now you have to understand, you have to find the corresponding principle to light on a wave level that exists in your consciousness that you can consciously invoke. But see, you're watching this TV, right, and it's being the projector of imagery for you instead of you using your organic machinery internally to create and project on the screen of space called 3D reality. The external reality is supposed to be your damn television.
Oh, that's deep. But I hear it. Say that one more time.
The external reality called 3D reality is supposed to be the human's television.
The humans? Wow. Okay, brother.
But the television then replaced that, and now it's feeding you back the images as if you the GMO.
Go ahead, brother.
Go ahead, Rich.
I'm glad you're dropping it on the hippocampus. We hear a lot about in the spiritual community about the pineal gland. That word is a highly used word. If you Google it, it's millions and millions of hits. But a lot of people don't talk about the hippocampus, so I'm glad you're going into that, brother. That's what I just want to say. I'm glad you're talking about that.
Absolutely. You know why? Because let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. All the imagery that you think, the pineal gland is open and you seeing all of this spiritual, et cetera, and I'm not taking away anything from that because people have had these experiences. But the thing is this, if you're seeing an internal image in your mind while you're in a physical body, while your light, the photon you, is still locked in this physical body, this cage or this cross, because that's the real cross that the Christ carried. They come out the physical body. This your cross. You got to take it every goddamn way that you go. Okay? So the deal is you're not going to see no images in the mind's eye unless it comes through the screen of space on that hippocampus. I'm sorry. It's just not happening. So the pineal gland may synthesize the light to be able to pick up and find the frequencies and data that exists in this cosmos, but it still has to have a screen of space to project it on, baby. Just like in the movie theater, you got the projector. It doesn't, you won't see nothing unless it's a screen there for it to land on.
Indeed. You know, and I got to, this time we're going to take a few calls. I'm going to start taking callers in on these shows and let the people from around the world speak and ask questions as well. So I'm going to start out today. I'm going to take a couple of questions from this one brother because we already went 30 minutes. So this one brother might have about 2 questions. I'm going to take questions from him, and then we're going to wrap it up. So let me just go over and connect the brother real quick. Yeah, so we got a caller, Minister Jew, from the 502 area code. Caller, state your name and what is your question?
Yes, my name is Jay. I have one question. I would like to know, can you manifest something in a time frame and have it guaranteed? Well, this one question actually is 3. And with what mental layout should we be in, and what?
One question at a time. One question at a time. One question at a time.
Okay.
What's the first one again?
This stuff.
Yeah. What's the first one again, brother?
So, can you manifest something in a time frame and have it guaranteed within that time frame?
Okay, that's the first question?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Here's the thing. This is how it works. And this is a good question. When you start to get into the science of manifesting using imagery, etc., you learn that it's more components to the process. First, you learn that a lot of the gunk that has been placed inside of the mind and the imagery that's been placed inside of there, the experiences that people have had dealing with the stress disorder that we just named, a lot of these things start to take up a lot of room in the subconscious basement. And so the first thing that has to be done is for people to learn how to clean up a lot of the things that have happened to them that they have stored away in memory. And so before you can get into trying to have a specific time frame to have something manifest back into this reality, it is good to start to clean up certain aspects of your psychology so that you can start to have fertile ground when things do start to turn up in the time allotted that you needed to. Second, emotion is very important when you start to use these structures in the limbic brain, because the limbic brain is where all of the feeling apparatuses are located. The amygdala, the caudate nucleus, the anterior commissure that's connecting these structures down in the limbic brain, etc. So a person's emotional pitch and how they feel, if they wholeheartedly feel as if what it is that they're asking for is already a reality for them, then yes, they can manifest it in a certain time slot. But it depends. It's not like it's not this logical, technical thing like a left brain apparatus is concerned. It's more so dealing with internal feeling, internal imagery, and how you amplify it. You literally have to become the operating mechanism. And so the turnaround time depends on how well you facilitate those acts. So if you don't have a high enough emotional pitch, and then you're steady entertaining all of these other things throughout your day, right, where it's counterproductive to what it is that you're seeking, then you might wait a while. But I've had people, and I've had this personal experience myself, I've had things show up in my reality instantly, like just thinking about something, and then automatically it shows up in my reality. So I'm not going to say no that you can't put it on a time frame, but again, it's like anything else. It takes you lifting the weights You have to get in there and lift weights, meaning that muscle has to become strong enough so that you'll be able to go in there and bench press that thing with no problem. You know, okay, I done this 100 times. I'm going to go in here and knock this thing out in 20 minutes. But if you haven't done the work and put the time in, it might take you an hour. It might take you 2 hours. So it depends upon how much baggage you have in the subconscious mind and how much work you're doing on an internal subjective level to see this thing unfold.
So what's your next question, brother?
Okay. Yeah, it was just along the same lines. It was just like what state of mind, like, should we be in, like, because I know certain things with meditation, it's good to get into, like, certain brain waves. So I was wondering, like, is it a certain state of mind? And if you were saying that it was just cleansing.
Oh, no, listen, that's a great question, because that prompts me to give another piece on the hippocampus. You mentioned the word meditation, and you mentioned something about brain waves. I might have mentioned it earlier in this dialogue. I really can't remember if I did, because I said a lot. But the hippocampus activates the theta wave in the brain, okay? Now, the theta wave in the brain is activated through multiple practices. Meditation is one. Hypnosis is another. People who are into, like, trance dancing, and active visualization. All of these things activate the theta wave in the brain, which is where the creativity starts to amplify in the individual.
That makes a whole lot of sense.
It's right. When they start to take things to another level and they're starting to process things from a different space, you see? And so this is where invention takes place. People have to be in a different state of consciousness in order to think of an invention, because these are things that have never been brought to the table before. Nobody has ever seen a make and model of its kind, but yet this person is dwelling in a state of awareness that suggests they're seeing an image in a 3D reality in their mind's eye, and then all of the particles of reality start to converge on their image in order to make it a physical reality. So you have to be in another state of awareness in order to tap into that type of mindset. So the moment that you start to get into that wave more often, right, you start to tap into this probability and possibility of becoming that type of creator. Also, there's different things that stimulate the hippocampus. It's just like you feed your body different foods, your vegetables, your greens, your kale, whatever it is that you're into that's going to give you nourishment to sustain your body. Certain structures in the brain take in sensory apparatus, and they actually show signatures of appreciation for it. The hippocampus actually shows appreciation for classical music that has a slower, softer pitch.
Yeah.
So now, throughout your day, if you start to stimulate your brain with these different things, you're starting to amplify the theta possibilities in the brain, which will put you in a better state, or I'll say a loftier state of becoming a bona fide creator. And this is really what we're striving for. We're striving to become creators. Listen, man, we're in the age of Aquarius, man. Technology is rampant. It's running the show, right? You got some situations where it's supposed to make our lives easier. That's what they say. In a lot of cases it does, and we're just going to be really frank about it. But the thing is this here. On the other side of it, you got it. It's taking away jobs from people. It's limiting opportunities for flesh and blood people to have opportunities to exist and take care of themselves. So now here's the question. If we're in the age of Aquarius and technology is booming the way that it is, and yet man is the one that's creating the technology, and it's not going to stop because we can see this thing is picking up speed and momentum every day. There's something new coming out that we're using, these gadgets, etc. I mean, they got damn Pokemon popping up, So just keep it real. So what does this mean?
Yeah.
This means that man is going to have to raise his level of consciousness where he starts to realize that he's the co-creator of the reality that he sees externally from himself. Therefore, he starts to be able to get in the fold of the quantum dynamic and create from that level for himself. You see, well, all of the moving parts in the external world converge in a way to meet his desires, to meet his goals, etc. Because if we don't, right, because it's a choice that you're going to have to make along this evolution of consciousness. If you don't, then you're gonna wither away, because the mental science is where it's at in the 21st century and beyond. You're not going to be able to get around that, man. It just is what it is.
Mm-hmm. You got one more question, Jay?
Nah, that'll be it. I just wanted one shot, one kill.
Definitely. Well, I
appreciate being on your show.
Tell the people how they can get at you.
Knowledge.
Tell the people how they could get at you if they want to build with you any further, brother. Tell the people how old you are, man. This is a young god right here.
Yeah, young guy right here. Young but old at the same time. I'm 22 in Gregorian time. But as far as contact information, I ain't going to leave none. If I come on again, I let them, you know what I'm saying, get to know me or something like that. Maybe I'll do that later, but right now I don't know about that right now. We need to see a podcast, you know what I'm saying? Right. It's big. I mean, it's big, but you know what I'm saying? I like it. It's cool, but nah, I ain't going to get it out just yet. Maybe if I'm on again.
Okay. All right, well, I appreciate the call, Jay, all right?
Yeah.
All right, peace.
Peace out.
So, Jew, you know what I just thought of hearing you talk to the young god Jay. Why is it that sometimes we manifest the thing we really want? Sometimes seems like the hardest shit to manifest, and sometimes the things we don't really want that much, man, that shit comes zooming into our reality. We might get that shit the next day, the next week, and we like, damn, why isn't it this easy for such and such, or to get a girl, or to get the job that I want, brother? I know a lot of people think about that, brother. So yeah.
All right, okay, here's the deal, right? See, the stuff that you don't want, right? See, the stuff that, okay, let's start here. The stuff that you want, like, it's always on your mind, right? You're like, damn, man, I want it, I need it, I gotta have it, right? It's always on your mind, right? And the stuff that you don't want, right, because you don't want it, you tend not to want to hold it in your consciousness for long periods of time. Right? Mm-hmm. And so the key is this, right? In the membership, what we teach people is to get into the habit of repetition for the things that they do want, because they have to condition their minds. But the thing is this, once you figured out in detail what it is that you do want, right? Like down to the detail, once you get the imagery work together, down to the detail of what it is that you want, how much of it you want, how much of it you need, why you need it, how is it going to be beneficial to your life and the people around you. The moment that you master that, right, then you let it go like a seed. So what happens is when you're holding on to something continuously forever in the day, and you never drop it to let it germinate into the subconscious mind, right, then it's not going to grow. Or I don't want to say it's not going to grow. It's not going to grow at the speed that you would like it to, right? So you have to learn to first master the technique of imagining, right, and mastering the understanding of the law of observation when you're dealing with quantum mechanics. Mastering these things, figuring out exactly what it is that you want, seeing it in its totality come to fruition in the imagery work, and then you do like you do anything else. You drop the seed and then you continue to flower it. But if you never drop it because you keep saying, I want, that means you haven't quenched the desire because you haven't put the proper imagery work together to quench it. So when you go back and you read the studies and they show you that they've done this thing for 6 weeks and they continuously did the same thing over and over and over again till they got it down pat, right? Then the brain started to pick up on it as if this thing is an actual reality for the subjects to participate in. You see how important it is to eventually master it, get it all together, and then let it go, and then you water it down. Just like a seed, when you drop it, you give it some water, get some sunlight. You constantly get into your gratitude. You constantly get into your appreciation. You constantly get into these different states of being, right, to add fuel to this seed that you completely packed together well and dropped into the ground. So you got to learn how to do that, and people have to learn how to do that. Because the thing that they don't want, they think about it. Because, you know, when you say you don't want, so let me say something. Negativity bias is a really real thing in the human mind, man. People
Right.
always talking about what they don't want, don't, and they see that shit very, very good in their psychology. something that they don't want. They run every scenario of how it could happen.
Ain't that something, man?
That's right. Man. That's right. They run it every which way of how it could happen, and then they not knowing they're the ones that's creating the phenomenon to happen. And then you read that whole scripture. It says, "I kill and I make alive. I wound and I heal, and there is none that can deliver out of my hands." So you're your own maker for both the good and the bad.
Now, Minister Jew. Now, let me use a scenario. Say there's a brother. He listens to these teachings. His brother's into his spirituality. The brother, you know, what we would call a black brother. You know, brother's 28, and he wants to manifest. He's getting older. He's 28 years old, and he wants a woman now. So the brother read about ancient Kemet, and he read up on his history and all that. The brother wants to manifest the black queen in his life. Now, the brother looks around. The brother sees in the media and on the television in his neighborhood, there's not a lot of options for him from what he can see with his sensory, his eyes or whatever. So the brother does his meditation. A black sister doesn't come into his reality, but he meets an interesting white woman. He meets an interesting Indian woman. He even meets an interesting Asian woman that kind of catches his eyes and his interest. When you're using this law of attraction, should you be picky? Should the brother wait on what he really wants? Or should the brother start to explore options and say, maybe it's going to come to me, but it's going to come to me maybe not how I want it, but how I need it? So it's two things. Should you wait on what you really want, or would you take what the universe is giving you because the universe knows best? Go ahead, brother.
Hey, man, it's a dirty question. Oh, man. It's a loaded one, man. I try my best to answer this, man. Like I said, you have to be very detailed, right? And what it is that you're petitioning for. And so if he's petitioning for a sister, he needs to include that scenario in some way, shape, or form in the work that he's performing on an internal level. Because what will happen, right, and this is why I always stress the importance of detail. See, you see this when you look at these chromosomes, right, that the human beings produce when they're making this baby. These chromosomes are holding all of the details in which this code of life is going to be programmed into this new child. And so whenever these chromosomes start to become imbalanced, then a lot of times the baby in the womb won't make it because these things didn't fuse together properly, right? So what does that say? When the details, right, when the edit, right, because you know all about editing, Rich. You do a lot of these shows, so you know what it takes to go in and edit things to get things just right so that they can be presentable where people can absorb it. When you're not detailed in what it is that you're asking for, you will get things that are something like it, almost like it, not quite like it, and it may have some of the attributes in which it was that you were asking for, but then you find yourself in a not wholeheartedly fulfilling position. So if we're using that as a scenario with the brother, like, listen, I got people in the membership who joined up to have healthier relationships. I don't want to shout her name out because I don't know if she want a business out there, but I got a sister who was looking to find a healthy relationship, and the way that she came about this man was one of the greatest stories to tell. How she came, it came through a scenario where she had a situation with her daughter. They had a little quarrel, a little argument. She ended up leaving the house. She ended up catching a blowout in a tire. Like, all of these series of strange events happened that led her smack dab into this dude who, like, just swooped her off her feet, Prince Charming type of flow. But when you study the hippocampus, you start to understand that it deals with a lot of unconscious mathematics. So now, when you look at the quantum dynamic and we're trying to make the human correlation between the quantum field and the human being and functions in the consciousness that work on the level of quantum, which is the imagination of man, we start to see that these situations, how they start to unfold in ways that the conscious mind cannot quite, or is not quite able to fathom. You'll never be able to plan it out the way that the logical mind does. A series of what looks like a coincidence or coincidences start to happen to lead you down this bridge of incident to lead you smack dab into what it is that you've been quantum imaging for the last 30 days or the last 40 days or the last 50 days or however long you've been doing it. This is how it happens. So you start to see how all of the functions of the hippocampus start to take place in the way that the event actually unfolds in the external world. You see? So, man, this thing, look, man, this thing is beyond amazing, you know, and I never get tired of talking about it. I love it. You know what I mean?
Indeed.
It's a beautiful thing once you get in the zone, you know?
Yeah, it becomes magical, and life becomes like a just magical. I guess you could say I don't know. It just becomes magical, man.
And listen, I want to say this to all the listeners. Listen, don't worry about what other people saying. Like how crazy people think it is, right? Because I can give you science on type of science all night. I can give you research articles about people with white lab coats with electrodes hooked up to people's brains. I can do that all night. Some people just not built to understand it. They not built to want to understand it, and that's okay. But if you listening to this broadcast at night, right, and what I'm saying checks out to you, and you go back and you study this thing and figure it out for yourself, engage in the practices and change your life. Because you know what happens when people start to see you elevate, they start to ask questions then, right? When they start to see you making power moves, all the people, all the naysayers, right, irregardless of what they know and how much they know about their craft or whatever it is that they know, but they start to see little old you, who they think don't know as much as them, not as afforded as them, and whatever it is that they know, quote unquote, but meanwhile they still going through all of these horrible atrocities in life. Relationships is terrible, money situations is terrible, they not happy, they always angry, they upset, all of these things breaking them down internally, psychologically, etc. But then when you start to show signs of improvement in your life, I'm going to tell you something. They still might hate for a little while, but they're going to eventually want to know what the hell you're doing.
For real.
I'm going to tell you something. Hating is one of the worst things an individual can do.
Tell them about it, Minister Jew. Tell them about it, man.
Listen, man. When you hate, you shut down the things coming into your own life as a blessing, man.
For real.
That's what happens, man. See, when you figure out that life is quantum, right, and you see it popping up everywhere, you know, UPS, quantum vision, they got a new service that they're using, Duracell, quantum batteries. You start to see this stuff popping up, quantum dishwashing liquid. You start to see this stuff popping up everywhere, right? And you hear Minister Jew been talking about it for 2 or 3 years. He'd be like, damn, man, that's what it was. Now all of a sudden it's popping up everywhere, right? You start to see that this quantum thing is not only, it's the fabric of this whole thing called creation. Without subatomic particles, don't a goddamn thing exist. So all the stuff that you championing on the physical side of reality, it only is able to exist because of the invisible particles and waves that exist on the other side of the veil, called atoms, called electrons, called quarks, etc. And so when you find out the dynamic of how light works in a wave and a particle, and then you learn that this wave actually has two folds, a crest and a trough. A troll will be what we call a hater, an angry person, a madman, right? Always observing things from a negative dynamic. A crest would be somebody who's optimistic, somebody who's a pioneer, somebody who's a trailblazer, somebody who's a creator, who's an inventor. Well, guess what? The moment that you keep making these troll observations, right, you cancel out the probability for light to come into your world, man. So just stop the hate, man. It ain't going to get you nowhere, man. It ain't going to get you nowhere.
Indeed, man. Well, we definitely appreciate you, man, for coming on once again. The hour is up. I want you to tell the people everything you and Noble Ampool got coming up and how they could get in contact with you, brother.
Man, check it out. We in Florida, y'all, Jacksonville, September 23rd through the 25th, coming up now in about 3 weeks. We're going to be in Jacksonville, putting on a beautiful, powerful workshop called the Positron Path, the New Way to Happiness, okay? At this workshop, we're going to be showing people how to rewire memory in the hippocampus. It's time for people to hit the refresh button. Create a blank canvas so that you can have a lot of room to paint your new, beautiful picture, okay, for your life. So the abuse, all of the stress and the disorder that we talked about earlier on the program, relationship issues, parenting issues, all of these issues that we've experienced, right? Some traumatic, violent experiences that people may have had where it's hindering them to grow and move forward in different aspects of their life. We're going to be showing people how to go in there and clean that stuff up because the power is through imagery and embedding it into your mind so that you learn how to rework these images, right? Because that's all memory is, isn't it, Rich? Something happened to you 5 years ago, and the memory pops up and you start to have a panic attack about it. Let's be honest. You're having a panic attack based off an image that's been stored away in your hippocampus that is now sending triggers to these other beautiful structures in the limbic brain to release different chemicals down into the nervous system, into the body, which is now causing you to have a physical experience. So now what we're going to do is we're going to rewire the image. That way the chemical that's being released is no longer the same chemical of stress. You see? So we're going to be getting into some profound work. We're going to visit some of the ancient sites in America, some of the mound works that the natives built here on this land many, many, many years ago. We're going to go there. We're going to do some work because the hippocampus is also excited when it's in large, spacious areas, etc. So we're going to be doing that, man, September 23rd through the 25th, man. Email us at info@theimaginationguru.com if you're interested in coming. We have a promo code for people who want to stay at the Holiday Inn. We got a discount for all the people that's going to be coming to the workshop. If you come into the workshop, the people at the Holiday Inn are going to give you a discount to stay at their hotel. So if you're interested, hit that email up again, info@theimaginationguru.com. Visit the website, www.theimaginationguru.com. Sign up for the membership. Monthly webinars, monthly conference calls, techniques are given out often. It's just a marvelous membership to expand in this information, get a lot more of the source material that I use for my study so that people can further in their development and rules and then teach the people that's close to them how to change their lifestyle and change their life, man. So visit the site. If you're interested in coming down, meet us there. If you want to call me and set up a consultation, I do consultations with, for the same type of work that we're going to be doing at the workshop for people who want to get a technique to learn how to alleviate different stresses in their life, whether it's been bad relationship problems, parental issues, financial issues, different things where you can appropriate different imagery into the subconscious to project a different field in your immediate environment to see changes happen for you. So if you're interested in that, give me a call. The business line is 877-345-3797. Again, it's 877-345-3797. Sign up on the email correspondence on the website so we can keep you guys abreast with what we got going on. And other than that, man, one last thing. Get the ebook, Imagination at Work, I Am Prosperity. Both of them are also available on the website as ebooks. You can download them and read them. Really short reads, 50, 60 pages, but really, really powerful, compact data to help you comprehend more of what I talked about tonight on the Underground Railroad with Brother Rich.
Indeed, man. And this Brother Rich, man, once again, we want to thank Minister Jew. Shout out to Noble Ampoule, the priesthood, always coming through with that quantum talk for y'all. This is Underground Railroad Radio, man, and we're going to see you next time. We signing out. Peace, family.
Peace.
Peace, family. This is Brother Rich from UGR, urging all my viewers and subscribers to help support the channel by donating just $1 to the UGR PayPal account. We appreciate the viewership and support, and we understand the power of $1. If you benefit in any way, shape, or form, we ask that you donate $1, whether it be monthly, bi-monthly, quarterly, or yearly, so that we can build our brand to compete with the NBCs, the MTVs, and the Foxes of the world. I figure since Kanye could ask Mark Zuckerberg for $1 billion, I could ask my subscribers to donate $1 so I could make the best possible content possible. The main objective of this channel is to inspire you to become the greatest version of yourself. So hopefully throughout the years of you watching this program, you have been inspired to become the greatest version of yourself. If you would like to donate, you could go to www.paypal.com and send a donation to richandmerit7@yahoo.com. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your program.